So I've drawn up here on the board uh, very traditional lesson, something that you typically would see if you walk into just any traditional class here in FCPS. It tends to start with a warm up, and that could be something on paper or just some sort of activity that gets students in the routine and the flow of the class. And then they move into some type of direct instruction that's followed by some sort of guided practice or demonstration. Uh, then we move into some independent practice where students are trying out practice problems, working on the project, whatever the task may be. And then the class typically ends with some sort of assessment or closure. It could be an exit ticket, something like that, so that you can evaluate what students know, what did they learn during that day, and how to make adjustments for the next class. So, this is a very typical kind of traditional lesson plan where all the students, it is whole group, and they're kind of working through all at the same pace, kind of in lockstep with the teacher. So, now we're going to take this typical traditional lesson plan and turn it into a playlist model. One of the two playlist models is called the flex model. And so the flex model, we're going to keep the warm up so that students still have that routine in their classroom and get ready for learning. We're going to keep the assessment at the end, the exit ticket, the closure, a way that teachers can assess what's going on in the classroom and where they need to make adjustments and move forward from there. But the middle part, we're going to put those activities in the learning path, and we're going to put them in a playlist. And in a flex model playlist, students have control over the path and the pace. So they can control the pacing, so they can go from activity 2, whenever they're done, they can move to activity 3 and 4, just like an individual rotation. However, in a flex model, students can choose the path as well. So what that means is they could choose to start with activity 4 and then move to activity 2 and 3, or do number 3 first and then move to 4 and then back to 2. It is completely up to them. This is building even more student agency. It's giving over even more control, not only the path, but also the pace. And so students have to, again, make a lot of choices here. But it definitely gives over even more control. And it's always surprising to me how evenly distributed those student choices are. Some students, they'll choose what they perceive as the hardest activity first. They're eating their vegetables first. Other students, though, they go straight for the dessert, right? So it's just so interesting to me to see how many classes I've seen use this model, and yet those students are just so evenly distributed with their choices, and so it's a great way to continue to build student agency in your classroom, executive functioning skills as they make their way through the playlist. These playlists can be used over the course of one day, sort of like this lesson plan that I drew up here. It could also happen over the course of multiple days or a whole unit. And so you want to continue to think about checkpoints, benchmarks. How do I know that if a student is on activity 4, that they've completed 2 and 3, or did they start with number 4? So something to consider there as well. Also with playlists, you definitely want to consider fast finishers, because now you're giving up control over the pacing. You're going to have students that just naturally work faster than others. So what are we doing for them? Is there a passion project? Is there an X time project? Other ideas for fast finishers. This is where we also typically see teachers using must-dos and may-dos in their playlists. That way, when students are finishing fast, there's an extension enrichment opportunity in the may-do section that they have the opportunity to continue their learning um, and still be able to control their pace. So that's how the flex model or the flex playlist would look.